Boom! Internet. Here we are. I am Chuck. I am part of Entertainment is Dead. Here with me tonight, I have Stephen Givens.
Yo, what's up, everyone?
I have Rich coming in with us tonight. Rich, say hi to the people.
I bring the knowledge.
He brings the knowledge. And then bringing up the tail end, the caboose of Entertainment is Dead tonight, I've got Randy. He likes.
Oh, I
to be the
should
big
have gone to
spoon.
Spider-Man. What was I thinking?
So tonight we're here to talk about the new SpiderMan movie. I was graced with a ticket to it with our friends at Big Shiny Robot, so I got to go see that with them and cuddle with Tyson and Tom, and I had one man on one side and another big man on the other side, and it was a beautiful thing, especially when I was sitting in these leather seats, and about halfway through the movie, both Tyson and I were, sweating profusely in our pants because the seats were so hot. I don't recommend going to see that movie in a leather seat. It's terrible.
Sounds like a beautiful man sandwich.
There was smells, there was men, and there was a great movie, and yeah. That's all I have to say about that part. Well, and as goes the movie, I'm just going to go ahead and talk about that really quick first, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes being our favorite superhero games. So, or actually, we can go ahead and talk about some ones we hate too. So, just superhero games in general. Anybody have any questions specifically about the movie?
Is it worth?
Not spoilers. No spoilers.
Is it worth $10 to go see?
I think so, definitely. I would actually. I think everybody who went with us that night will agree that this is probably one of the movies that you can see in 3D that are, to me, actually was worth it. I was thinking about it because I'm gonna have to go watch it with my son again and my girlfriend, and I'm gonna get it in 3D. I would recommend the IMAX 3D. It was crisp, it was clean, it looked good, it wasn't obnoxious, it wasn't like some hokey fucking thing like halfway through the movie that's just like, hey, here's where your 3D comes into play, bloop. Oh, you get two scenes like that. No, I felt like it worked really, really well for what they were doing. It didn't take away from the movie, and it actually really helped out, I felt like.
So where did the movie rank in, first of all, compared to the first one, and then, I mean, they are different entities, but everyone talks about, the original Sam Raimi trilogy, so where would you say it stacks in comparison?
So, I loved Spider-Man 2. It's still one of my all-time favorites.
Sam Raimi.
Yeah, the
Okay.
Sam Raimi, the Tobey Maguire, whatever you want to call it. That, to me, time frame-wise, there wasn't a superhero movie out there that was as good as that one. The train scene for me was amazing. That really brought that character to life for me when all the whole everybody on that train is like covering up his identity and everything. There just wasn't anything out there like that at that time to me, or for me at least, and I really like that. X-Men 2 is another great one for me. To me, this is probably top 3 movies as superhero movies go. I didn't feel like it was trying to be an action movie and second a superhero movie. I feel like there's been a few movies that have come out in the last year or two that really, to me, felt more of an action movie than a superhero movie. Like, take for instance Iron Man 3. I liked the movie a lot, but to me it felt like an action movie, not a superhero movie. And actually, for the record, the new Captain America was like that too. Even though Mandy, I asked her specifically, I said, hey, is this an espionage movie? And she's like, no, it's not. It totally was. It's totally an espionage movie. So,
Calling you out, Mandy.
right, yeah. Take that, Mandy. I went and saw it, and I was like, Mandy? Damn it. But as goes things I didn't like about it, and first off, I don't like the fact that every fucking critic is going, burning this movie at stake, and I can't quite figure out why that is. And we were actually discussing this last night too, is why everybody hates this movie. The only thing that I feel like took away from it, and I was just kind of bored out of my mind, for some reason, it was pertinent to the story, and I think it was pertinent to people that don't really know. Well, whatever, you know, the universe that they're building in this movie, it's not the same universe, and so they have to really build on it. And there are parts like where he's researching things that are going on with, you know, that went on with his dad, that to me were, I was just like, can we just fucking get past this?
See,
And
no, I've read that same thing. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard about that same complaint. Like, who cares about the history with his dad? And I think that they kind of, with the first one, they set that up, and so they had to somehow bring it up again, or else it would be a loose end. But maybe they spent too much time on it.
you know, I don't know how they could have gone about it and shortened it, because there's pertinent information. There's pertinent, and I actually brought this up last night, and they shut me down really quick. Tyson and Tom did, about this interaction between Harry and his dad, and I was like, man, they really didn't even need this. But then I went back and thought about it today. I'm like, you know, they had to explain a couple things, and it's fine. There's a lot of explanation in those parts that are slower. And I pointed this out last night when we were talking about it, is that if you have kids that are going to this movie with you, that's probably a good time to hand them some popcorn or have them go take a break. If they're talking about like when they introduce Harry into the movie, good break time would be when Peter is trying to go discover some stuff about his dad. Good time to go take a leak. And overall, I mean, I think it's good to know what's going on in those scenes, but also a good time to not pay that much attention. To me, the action points were amazing. Probably the best action I've seen in a comic book movie yet to this day. I loved it. I mean, take those scenes that you had with the lizard fighting in the first movie and multiply that by 3. And I felt like, and I'm not saying that as in villains, I'm just saying like as in action and how it panned out, and I felt like it was really well done. That's
good to hear.
Yeah, Tyson and I agreed the fact that the scenes looked scene for scene what you'd see in a comic book, and I really, really liked it. The clock tower scene. Sorry?
I was just going to say, one of the challenges that you have with Spider-Man is that he doesn't fight on the ground or just in the air. He's all over the place in his battling, and so the fact that they can do that well, and we'll get to this a little bit far later on the topic of gaming, it's really hard to do that well, to make it fluid, to make it seem correct. In the comics you can do it, but in movies or something that's consistently moving, it's hard to do.
Oh yeah, and they did an amazing job with him, making him look very, very fluid in movement that a normal person obviously is not going to do. And there's a scene that happens at the beginning with some plutonium that is hilarious. That was the other thing I really liked about it too, is they made him such a smartass and so funny. And they did a good job with it in the first one, but I am going to say this again, and I will say this over and over again. Tobey Maguire made a better Peter Parker. I think that new guy makes a better Spider-Man, but man, he still comes off a little bit of a douche to me as Peter Parker, and I like it, and I can deal with it. I can get over it because I feel like it is a better portrayal of Spider-Man overall. But man, the thing about Spider-Man, and I said this last night, and I'm going to say this again, is Spider-Man as Tobey Maguire is a nerd. And Spider-Man is his way to escape, and that's part of him being Spider-Man, is that he can be a smartass, he can be all these things that he can't be as himself, and it's his little escape. At least that's what I've always taken away from it, and that's kind of where I kind of feel like, okay, he's like this skaterish, like whatever,
well,
hip,
and I
cool
think
kid,
the
hipster.
Peter Parker version they're doing is more of the Ultimate Spider-Man version instead of the Amazing.
Yeah, and also the new reboot, right?
Yeah, in the new reboot, I mean, the first issue just barely came out yesterday, and so I don't know what their take through it. It's still going to be amazing, and Peter's still going to be the person that he was. But in Ultimate, Peter Parker is more of a... He's not cool. He's still a geek. He's still a nerd, but he is an ass. Like, he's a wise cracking person, you know, that's kind of why he gets a target from bullies, is because he is smarter than them, and he's not afraid to like show that to them time and time again, and that's why he gets picked on. Whereas in Amazing, he's just the stereotypical nerd, you know. So.
Yeah. Well, Hats off to you for reading all the lines of Spider-Man. But
Hey, it's
no,
important knowledge.
it is. It's a knowledge piece that I don't have. You bring the comic book knowledge. Rich brings the video game knowledge. I bring the good looks and the pretty.
And
I bring the knowledge.
I do have to say, since I just did mention comics, and I kind of already mentioned this to you already, Lance, but because they did do their reboot with Amazing Spider-Man #1, it did come out yesterday. If you're wanting to get into comics, now is a great time, because the biggest problem is you don't know where to start. You know, you're too far behind, whatever. They're relaunching it. They just barely finished a story arc where Peter Parker was gone, and now he's back. And so if you really want to catch up, you can read that Superior Spider-Man, but you don't need to. You can just start with Amazing #1 and jump right into it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You didn't answer the question, Lance.
What was the question?
Is it better than the first one?
The first one is in the Mark Webb one.
Is it better than the Ultimate Spider-Man, like the one that was out 2 years ago?
Yeah, I definitely think they built on it. I think it's if you like the first one, it builds on what that is, and it's better. It's good. I didn't hate the first, or I didn't hate the Mark Webb one. I think Mark Webb directed the first one too, right? Am I right on that one?
Sounds correct.
I'll go fact check you real quick.
Okay, fact check that. But anyways, yeah, the one that came out about 2 years ago. I didn't hate it. I don't love it. Hank loves it. He loves watching Spider-Man fight. But definitely built on that, and it's great. I'm really excited to see what they do with the series. I'm really hoping that the pinnacle of the series doesn't end at 3, and I'm hoping for a Venom, a Carnage movie. I mean, they've already announced that there's going to be those by themselves, a standalone, but we'll see if that actually pans out this time.
The other one was done by Mark Webb as well.
Sweet.
They're building to Sinister Six.
Right.
The third one. So.
Mm-hmm. It's actually supposed. I've been told it's supposed to be a standalone movie, Sinister Six. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that should be interesting. But anyways, enough of that. I want to go ahead and who wants to go first on their favorite superhero games? I think I'm gonna pick on Steve because he's right next to me on my camera. So. Plus, since I'm moderating tonight, I get to choose instead of everybody like that asshole. Everybody picks on me because I never prepare. So you're gonna go first.
I'm thinking back most recently. I really enjoyed Injustice, fighting game. I thought it covered DC really well. I thought the actor portrayals in that game were really good. But overall, my favorite is probably Arkham City, Batman. I love that game. I thought it was done really well. I think Rocksteady makes fantastic games. The acting was fantastic. The storyline was pretty good, and the gameplay was just fun. Wasn't pleased with Arkham Origins, but...
Well, yeah. I played Arkham Origins for about, 25 minutes, and I was like, man, this is the same shit with not terrible characters. I shouldn't say. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, DC Universe. I'm sorry, all my friends that are comic book nerds. Just not people that I know as well. I'm like, come on, this needs to be a little bit better.
And I understand why people hate on Origins. I do. And it is the same gameplay and stuff, but I still loved the game. It's not my favorite. My favorite of all of them is City, and Origins is my least. But I do have to say that if you actually play through, the storyline of Origins is awesome.
That's what it had. It had story, but there was no new factor. There's no gameplay mechanics that seemed different to me. It was buggy for me. It was a bit choppy. But, I was happy with the story, and I thought it played out pretty well.
What did you play it on?
Me? I started on 360, finished it on PC.
Okay.
It was...
Buggy experience changed when you switched console?
A little bit. It got a little better. A lot of the stuff was clipping. That was the biggest issue, clipping, and then I would just fall through the map frequently. It was
seriously. I never experienced that.
Yeah, I didn't either, and I played it start to finish on the PC.
Yeah, and it was rare, but occasionally it did happen. But it happened tremendously a lot on the 360. I don't know if it ever got patched, but
I don't know if it did on the 360. I know it did on the PC. So
yeah, maybe I might have played it before the patch. I don't know. But it was a good game. The storyline was good. But yeah, Arkham City is just my all-time favorite.
Such a good arc on it.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
bringing us a Batman game. Look at other Batman games in the past. I mean, there were some that were okay, but none of them were like, I feel like Batman. And I know this has been said over and over again, so I
yeah.
won't talk about it too much.
But we can all be excited that the Rocksteady's doing the Dark Knight. Is that what it's called? Right? Dark Knight?
Can I say, I know that they're coming back to the series, and I'm really stoked that they just kind of didn't really listen to producers and whatnot, or whatever, and they just kind of made their own game when they wanted to make it. But man, I want to be more excited about this, but I don't know why I'm not. Just not that excited.
It's because it's old.
It's the same shit, and I think that's the problem. I think.
Well, that's the thing, is that the same feeling that he's talking about and he's describing with Arkham Origins is not going to change for whatever the new one is. You're still doing the same thing. Maybe they'll throw you in a power-up or two or whatever it is that's going on. People who still get off for Assassin's Creed, which is great, and I don't want to tell people, don't enjoy Assassin's Creed. You can love that game if you want to, but how many games do they have to make before it's old? How many games do they have to make a Call of Duty before it's old? Now you're experiencing that with Batman. That's all it is.
Yeah.
The franchise has been done and then done and then done, and now it's done, but they're going to keep going.
Yeah, and if it doesn't have those narratives, it's not going to keep me hooked, right?
Right.
Exactly. And in the new one, you actually get to drive the Batmobile, and that plays a big part of your gameplay. So
Which is exactly what Richard's saying, right?
Exactly.
It's going to have one hook.
Right. It'll have one.
You know what? Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag lets you have pirate ships.
Right.
I mean,
Pokemon Black and Pokemon White have different versions of Pokemon.
And I'm not going to disagree with you on that. As a Pokemon junkie, and that's why I said, if you want to like Assassin's Creed, if Batman is your thing, then this is like your mecca. Like, this is the place where you put your thing down and pray, because that's where you live, and that's great. I'm not telling you not to enjoy that. I'm not telling you not to have a good time with that. I'm saying that the reason why Lance feels that way, or why other gamers feel that way, is because it's been done.
Right.
The same backlash that happens over first-person shooters and everything else. It's like, oh, cool, we get another one. What was the hook for Origins? Hey, guys, Deathstroke's coming. Oh, my God, Deathstroke. Oh, played the game. Okay, cool. He was in it for like 20 minutes.
I will say, that was disappointing. The Deathstroke's part was over so quickly.
That achievement was such a bitch to get.
Yeah, but that's all games. Like, if you're going to beat a dead horse, like, I mean, if you're DC at this point, or if you're Rocksteady, you should be at the feet of DC or somebody somewhere, Warner Brothers or whoever you have to talk to, asking for another franchise. Be like, please God, bring me a Green Arrow game. Let me make a Batman-style game with the Green Arrow.
And I will agree with that. Like, I would love to see a Green Arrow game. I would love to see a Superman game from DC.
Superman's not going to happen.
It won't. No.
When I talk about my games that I like in a minute here, I'm going to explain why Superman can't happen. But
no, and I understand that completely. But I will also say that one thing Rocksteady is doing correct with the new one is they are working with DC, and they are creating a new villain who is not from his rogue gallery at all, who will then be incorporated into the comics.
But how many of the other ones are they going to bring with it?
Well, yeah, and that's true too.
Like TwoFace is my favorite character in those games, and do I think TwoFace was represented properly in City? Maybe, maybe not. It depends. I wanted to see more, and I didn't get it.
I'm surprised that the
everything in those games always comes back to the goddamn Joker. That's just that's their bread and butter.
They didn't touch on. I was glad that they brought Clayface in finally, but one that they didn't do, and I'm trying to remember his name, the puppeteer. The mafia guy.
Scarface?
Yeah, I really liked him in the.
You see references to him all over the game.
Yeah, he was in the. Well, he's in the cabinet in one of the places, like the Penguin's house or something like that. Like you see him in there.
And you see him in. He's in a place in Asylum too. Yeah.
Same with Clayface.
And they have lots of nods.
Oh, that's right. Clayface is in there. I forgot about that.
That's what's great about comic book games is you can make nods and references, and you can hide those Easter eggs to just say, look, these guys exist. We're notating that he's a real person.
That's great for comic book fans. That's not great for video game fans. And it depends on which way you go with that, because if like right now you guys have been talking about the movie, you guys talking about Spider-Man. I've never read a comic that has to do with Spider-Man, that's why I've been very, very quiet. And I've seen the movies up until this one, but I'm not going to rush out and see this. Like, I don't go to theaters, I don't watch movies like that, and I don't care. So for me to pick up the Amazing Spider-Man 2 doesn't send me anywhere. Like if they had done something with the game and they said, look, this game is this, and this is why it's this, and this is why we think you should play it, as a gamer, I would be more inclined to do something with it. Because they're not pandering to me, they're pandering to Randy.
Right, but
I
that's
see
the
what you're
point.
saying.
Well, here's the thing.
Like, you have to remember the 80-20 rule. I mean, their target audience of video gamers who are also comic book geeks like myself might only be 20%, but that 20% is going to give them 80% of their business, so they don't care.
See, and that's where my complaint comes from, is that they don't care. And you said this, and I guess this is as good a time as any to talk about this. My favorite superhero games don't have superheroes in them. My favorite superhero games are Infamous and Saints Row 4. If you haven't played Saints Row 4, it is the single greatest superhero game I have ever played. You are running up buildings. You are flying in a direction. You are beating the shit out of people. And the most unrelentingly cool... No, not in 4. I'm sure there is one. I just never found it. But you are doing the most unrelentingly cool things as a superhero I have ever seen. You take that game and apply it to whatever superhero you want to. Make a Cap game based on that. It would be the single greatest game ever made. But when you're trying to stick to source material, and more importantly, when you're trying to stick to a deadline, we got to get the Amazing Spider-Man 2 out before the movie comes out, or we're not going to be able to capitalize on that 80-20 split that you're talking about. You sacrifice that gameplay. The reason why the Arkham games are so much better is because they're not tied into a movie release. They're not tied into a marketing campaign. They're not tied into whatever DC's trying to push on Arrow right now.
I will completely agree with that, because I hate movies, or I hate games that are tied into the movie, because they're hokey, they're stupid. I mean,
they're broken. They usually have broken shit. Yeah.
The only exception, the only one I actually enjoyed was same one, Spider-Man 2, back when it was like they were pushing to get one. They actually did an open world correctly, and they focused on swinging through the city.
Here you go.
Done well.
Here's a piece of trivia for you. Do you know who made the Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 video games for Activision?
Oh, I have no idea.
Treyarch made them before they got tapped to build Call of Duty.
Here's the thing about that first Spider-Man game too, because I just finished. Well, I didn't just finish, but within like a year or so, I'd finished the Spider-Man that was based off the cartoon series, which was fucking amazing. That was on PlayStation 1 and
not tied to a release, not tied to.
And it was amazing. It was so good. And then I went in and played Spider-Man based on the movie. And it was shit to me. At least it was shit to me.
At the time, it was good, but it was good for a movie game. And that's
if you want a good Spider-Man game that actually has good gameplay that isn't tied to a movie but is true to its character, you need to play Spider-Man Web of Shadows and Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. Those two Spider-Man games are actually decent. And Shattered Dimensions was cool because it gives you different versions of Spider-Man, so it broke up the let's swing over here and beat up this person.
Yeah. See, okay, now back to what I was saying. The reasons I think Infamous are the best superhero game is because they let you kind of build your superhero as you go. Those morality choices that they don't give you in superhero games because the source material is already there, you don't get that choice. That really builds on that.
Right,
I would really like them
last time about how it's always if you're 51% good, you get the good ending, and that bugs me too.
Yeah, but another thing, I'd actually like to see someone build a superhero game, whether it be Infamous or whatever, and then have that develop into other things that people can appreciate from that we'll call it an 80-20 split in favor of video gamers, and then we'll bring the rest of the people in with it. I would like to see, like, I've heard that there may be Infamous comics out there or some kind of franchise. Like, let's do something with that. You know what I mean? Like, give people that choice. You know, that would be kind of cool. The only games I've ever played that are superhero games that actually have documented superheroes in them that were any good are Marvel Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2, but that's only because they're Diablo clones. You play any Diablo clone with multiple people, and it's fun. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah, it's fun. I agree.
And, oh, God, what was the other one? Oh, Batman, the Arkham City. Like, it's good. It's really good. And Arkham Asylum, I actually like Arkham Asylum more than I like City. Just for that. It's a Metroidvania kind of game. You know, backtracking, going around, collecting power-ups, doing those things. Metroidvania, you don't get enough of those to go around, so when you get one, you have to, you know, again, worship it for what it is. Otherwise, you're never going to get any more. So for me, those are the only two games that actually have superheroes. But I'm telling you, if you haven't played Saints Row 4, and you like superheroes, man, you were running up buildings and you were flying across the city like a ridiculous fuck. It's amazing. It's very M-rated. Don't let your kids play it. But if you're an adult, if you are over the age of 22 and you're down with the superhero thing, go get Saints Row 4. Wait for it to be on Steam for $5 one weekend and be like, hey, I got it. Let's do this. And you will not be disappointed. Somewhere between the Incredible Hulk, Superman, and Captain America, you have the biggest douchebag on Earth fighting aliens. It's amazing. You got to go play it.
So one thing I talked to my wife about when I told her our topic for tonight is she likes the Batman games because she kind of play games like I do, completionist. So in order to complete the game, you need to go get those Easter eggs. You need to get the collectibles, which got her interested in the Batman comic. She's never read a comic book in her life. So she goes and gets the collectibles, and then all of a sudden she's like, whoa, who's this Clayface guy? What's this backstory about? And by catering to those video game enthusiasts who are the completionists, it's forcing them to learn a little bit of the comic book knowledge, which I think is really cool, and I think the Arkham games did that well.
Well, and talk about another small minority. I mean, how many gamers out there actually are completionists? Like, there's very few people out there who sit down to play a video game and will do 100%. They might complete the story, but they don't go back to do every little thing.
You know what? The last 2 games I went completionist on were Saints Row 4, because it was just so much fun I didn't want to stop, and Batman Arkham City.
Right.
It's those exact 2 games. Like, and there have been 100 other games between then and now that I could say I should have done completionist with, but the nature of the gameplay in those games makes you want
I think
to
one night
be a completionist.
I think one night we need to have a discussion about narrative-driven games. That's really what this conversation came in a lot to, is what about a game drives me? What makes me want to play it?
Well, here's another thing to go with that. My question is, why do we not have any superhero RPGs? Like, if this narrative is so established and we can't deviate from the source material, Batman is Batman is Batman is Superman is Superman is Superman. If we can't move away from that kind of stuff, why are they not telling these stories as an RPG, as some kind of story-driven gameplay experience, rather than trying to make just a generic action game and go, hey guys, we put out a SpiderMan game on time, what's up?
Well, and that's what Arkham City did. It was an RPG.
Which is 1 out of a million.
Right.
Also, it's worth noting we lost Lance.
Oh, well, I will say until he comes back that at least it may be 1 out of a million, but it's also the most successful one. Like, people need to learn from that. I think Arrow would be an amazing game.
Yes, I agree. That's why I was saying I don't understand why Rocksteady is not somewhere in a DC office going, look, what franchise? Give me Aquaman and let me make a Batman game or an Arkham game with Aquaman. Give me something. Who cares what it is? Like, you've beat something, I don't want to say to death, because there's still, the new one has some promise to it, but
right.
I need something new. We have to change this up now so that we can build your universe. Give me something nobody's ever heard of. Take one of the characters from Injustice that nobody's ever heard of, and let's build a game around them. Let's build a Teen Titan game that's an action game like that. How much fun would that be? I mean, there's 8. See, how many characters are in there now? 6 or 8?
Teen Titans, there's like 6.
Yeah, so there's 6 different characters with 6 different narratives that you can explore all across a city doing whatever. I mean, there's so many other things that they could be doing, but they've got one focus, and it's proven to make them money, and so they will not deviate from that under any circumstance.
Well, you're going to have that no matter what, though, but I mean, then you've got, like, Infinite just announced that they added all the Marvel characters, and so we'll see how that goes. You're going to see I don't know, how did the DC Online go? I didn't play it. I mean,
never played it.
There's been some MMOs, but
an MMO is not a story-driven content either.
It could be. That's not very fair to say, because you look at stuff like Guild Wars 2, and I don't know how far you played into that, but you play a storyline while you're playing the MMO.
That's one of the few that does it. I was one of the few people that played World of Warcraft reading the books in Sholomance, trying to get the history behind what was going on. Everyone else I knew was running an instance, and they could give a shit less about the rest of it. If you're building that kind of gameplay experience, again, you're going for a very, very specific audience. You're going for a very, very specific thing, and it doesn't deviate from that. It's become so cookie cutter, non-deviant from the formula. I can tell you right now, you guys want to start making predictions about what the new Batman game is going to be like from Rocksteady, and we'll probably be 90% right.
No, we don't need to make predictions about that.
Well, I'm just saying that's how formulaic everything is.
Was Arkham Asylum out, before or during the Christopher Nolan Batman?
It was after.
Like after the second one?
It was in between.
Did that drive it? Like, was that the reason Asylum came out? Was because, hey, maybe we can hop on this Batman train? Or did Rocksteady just decide we need a good detective
That's
game?
a good question, because I didn't feel like it was based anything like the Nolan movies at all. I felt like it was way more.
Yeah, I don't think they were related, but was it like, whoa, people like Batman? Let's make a Batman game. Kind of like what Richard was saying. Batman's popular. Let's make a Batman game.
And even if that was the driving factor behind making it, they got lucky. Like I said, the 1 out of a million times, or the 2 games, the 2 out of a million times. The third one was cashing in on a franchise. But, I mean,
what's interesting,
even with that being the case.
Because, I mean, Rich, you talked earlier, because they did make an Asylum comic book series, like a story arc, that is geared specifically to the Asylum universe. It exists only in that universe, and things happen there that don't happen in the actual DC universe. But me, as a comic book geek, I'm not going to pick that up with my limited comic book budget, because if I'm going to read Batman, I'm going to read the actual DC version of Batman, not the Rocksteady version of Batman. So
and that's another thing too that you bring up that I think is really important to mention too, is that this is a budget thing. You have a comic book budget that you can do. I have a video game budget which has shrunk significantly in the last little while. But I mean, you're only going to get what you can get. You're only going to go to the thing that you want to do. If you read those books, you're going to get it. So if that's the case, then why are we trying an 80-20 split? Why are we trying to cash in on this stuff? Well, what's going on? Why aren't they pandering to my group who has the video game budget versus your group who has the comic book budget? I'm not saying that we're different. I'm just saying if that's where the money splits, and you are not alone in that feeling, why are they doing it this way?
My thought is that we aren't the market anymore. it's the 16 and 17-year-olds who are going to have them parents buy them both. That's the market. I feel like.
True.
For games or for comics, or you say both?
For games, the reason they tailor, towards those certain type of comics and those certain storylines, and why the comics are geared the way they are, is I think comics are definitely geared towards the older demographic, but video games, I think the general market, I feel like, is aimed towards 16, 17-year-old kids who are going to have their parents buy everything for them.
Okay, this is the part where I bring the knowledge. See that right there? Bring the knowledge. Average video gamer 10 years ago bought 3 video games a year and was between the age of 15 and 25. Average video gamer a year now buys 6 games a year, and their target demographic is 25 to 35. Like, that has moved over the last 10 years, and it's not mom and dad buying games for them anymore, unless mom and dad are letting 25-year-olds live in their basement buying them games, which would be a total different problem and issue we can talk about another time. But because that demographic has moved, and you've seen the money that goes into those things really explode when it comes, like, video games has overtaken movies as the major powerhouse industry when it comes to entertainment. That happened a couple of years ago. These trends and these changes and these movements aren't being acknowledged. And it's still very much like you said, there's still a mentality of, well, mom's buying Junior these comics. Not like Randy's talking about, we were talking about it earlier, that someday when Randy dies, he's giving his comics to his children, and he's passing that along. His father's playing with their sons. My son and I were playing Minecraft and Castle Crashers tonight between our computers. They're not acknowledging that demographic, and the people who are actually playing the games, they're still treating it like mom and dad buying Junior whatever the hell they want because they whine and bitch and complain in the store.
I just had a light bulb go off while we were talking about this, and that is that when we're 60 and we're still playing video games, we're probably going to get a bad grandpa game. So, it's going to be so sweet. I'm going to be bad grandpa, like fucking being an asshole. That's going to be Saints Row 12, bad grandpa.
Well, see, this is why we need to have that narrative discussion, because if as long as people like Ken Levine keep on making games, I'll keep on playing video games. There are those narrative-driven games that will keep me back.
See, and then you used 2 bad words in my book, and that's Ken Levine. The last BioShock was awful.
We'll have that discussion.
Yeah, we're moving on from this. All right. So anyway, Steve, what other games did you want to talk about that you appreciate, that you liked or hated, that were superhero-oriented?
Like I said, I really liked Injustice, and Tom's not here to say it, but I really like Marvel vs. Capcom.
Nice. So Injustice 2 just got announced a week or 2 ago?
Oh, really? Is it Warner Brothers Studios again?
I'm not really sure.
They have the license, so it's got to be them.
What was that, Richard?
They have the license, so it's got to be them.
God, I hope Monolith does another Gotham City Imposters. I doubt that we're gonna see it, but fuck, I love that game so much, and I love Monolith. So heart Monolith.
I love NetherRealm Studios. I've been playing Mortal Kombat, since I was a little kid, and I thought they did really well with Injustice. I hope they do the second one. I know Warner Brothers owns it, but NetherRealm's part of them, but they don't necessarily have to be the ones to make it.
They are. It's
Though Mortal Kombat versus DC was terrible.
It was awful.
But that's a whole nother torrid history as well.
God damn it! Stop it.
But hey, you can't blame the people who made that game when they take a game that's M-rated to the publisher. They take it to DC and go, "Yo, dog, here's our cool video game that's based on Mortal Kombat," and they go, "You are representing our characters inaccurately, and you must tone it down and change it, or we will not let you release this game." And at the time, because Midway published it, and they were in such dire straits when it came to financing, that was the game. They had to sell X amount of copies in order to stay in business, and they missed it because of delays and other things that went on with that. Like, that game has so much dramatic history behind it, it's unbelievable. We can't fault them for that one game.
Yeah, I love NetherRealm Studios, and I'll
We just don't like that game.
Yeah, I just don't like that game. But hey, I'm sure there's a good reason. I'm sure they didn't make this and be like, we fucking love this. This is top
I'm
quality.
sorry, but the fact that you can have like Superman or whoever, one of the powerhouse characters, pound one of the mortal characters like Green Arrow or Batman into the ground, solid cement, like waist deep, and then they're like, "Oh, it was just a knockout." Like, no. Like, I'm sorry. Like, come on. I know it's a fighting game. I know they have to pander to certain things, but I was just like, really?
At least have them break through the floor like Mortal Kombat 3, goddammit.
Right.
Have you guys played the most recent Mortal Kombat that came out a couple years ago?
Yep.
So that X-ray effect, when you hold down both triggers or whatever, how they kind of brought that into Injustice. Those powerhouse moves. They show the, ribs breaking and stuff like that. I love those touches. It's very superhero comic book style-y to me, but
right.
Well, that's what Injustice is all about. Injustice is the superhero fighting game that they wanted to make with the DC monitor where it wants to be, and then they made the Mortal Kombat game the way they wanted to make violence and death and anger and blood everywhere.
Yeah.
When they're separated, it's great. When they start jacking that stuff together again, fuck that. I'm not playing it. I'm out.
Any of you guys play the iOS, the mobile Injustice game?
Yeah, I started with that.
That was interesting, I guess.
That's the card game one, right?
I think no, it is the card game one, and then you have to like swipe, and I don't know, any kind of fighting game on the iPad or any kind of tablet, I think is just, it's gimmicky. Like I played
Hearthstone is fantastic though. Just saying.
Yeah,
that's
not a fighting game. That's a card game.
Although I did download it because I saw it was grossing, so I was like, okay, I'll download this.
I'll hop on this train.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this with fighting games and Mortal Kombat and stuff, they had to definitely separate those two. Because I agree, Rich. When you put those two together, it was just bad. It was the same thing.
It was their doing. Like they made it that way. They were like,
right.
We're gonna take your decent game and make it so that you have to flick them, and our superheroes can't lose. It was ridiculous. So Midway's out of business. That's all that matters. NetherRealm is still here. Midway's out of business. And I don't get Gauntlet games anymore because of it. Thanks.
But they're making a new Gauntlet.
Yeah, you keep telling yourself that.
I saw it.
I know, I saw it too. That's not Gauntlet.
It looks like Diablo. I mean, if I can have unlimited throwing axes, I'll be happy.
No. Okay, so we want a Gauntlet Dark Legacy remake or a Gauntlet Legends kind of game. And I appreciate that's not the original Gauntlet. The new one that's coming, that PC version, the one that's coming to the Steam box,
yeah,
that is Gauntlet 1. Like, top-down Gauntlet 1.
Yeah. Gauntlet Legends.
That's not what we're looking for.
So much on the N64. Was that the one on the N64? Legends?
Yes, that was Legends.
That was so good.
So damn good.
Yeah. Bring me that game. There was a version of that coming to the 3DS that we could all play multiplayer from system to system anywhere we were, played online. Yeah, and they canned it because Midway went out of business thanks to DC versus Mortal Kombat. So
well, hold up. The 3DS came out way after the...
You're right. I'm sorry. It was coming for the DS. But it was going to be a system link, and it had online features to it. But yeah, it was coming.
Knowledge.
Yeah, it was coming,
God damn it.
and DC fucked me, okay?
All right, Lance.
No, I'm going to Randy next, and yeah. Anyways,
he's taking notes. Fuck, I was gonna use that one. Shit,
no. Actually, I really don't think mine are gonna be on here. But go ahead.
So we've already mentioned a couple of mine. I already said Web of Shadows. I already said Shattered Dimensions, but I do love Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2. Great superhero games, lots of fun. I mean, they are Diablo clones, but they're fun, like Rich said.
They're great
Another,
family games too.
they
That's
are.
what's yeah.
I mean, like they're just a lot of fun, and it's really fun when you're playing through. And there was an X-Men Legends once that was similar as well. That was
Those
pretty
were the
good.
precursors to Ultimate Alliance.
Yeah,
X-Men Legends
exactly.
1 and
And
2.
it was fun to play as Nightcrawler and run up to one of your teammates and just teleport them to somewhere else on the map, and then they're pissed because they can't get back.
What? I didn't play
In
much of Legends, so.
in X-Men Legends, like Colossus, he can always smash his way back through the walls or something. But if you took someone like I don't know, Rogue or Storm or something, and you teleport them to a different corner of the map, they have to fly back. But if they're in a room that they can't like fly out of, they're stuck there until you like either catch up to them or you go and teleport them back with your group. And it was a lot of fun just to be that dick that like they're sitting there, you're like, okay, let's move on. And they're like, no, I'm gonna smash this wall or whatever. And you're like, okay, hang on, you're gonna be put in the corner until you're ready to play nice. So that was fun. I don't know if other people liked it as much as I did, but I really enjoyed the Wolverine Origins game. It was not based off
Oh,
the
that
movie,
was so good,
but
actually.
fun.
Yeah,
And it
it
had
was
one
way
of
fun.
the greatest. I mean, it's not open world at all. You're very like strict on your path, but to me, it still has one of the greatest openings in a superhero game ever. And it's that you're falling. You jump out of this airplane and you fall and you smash through this helicopter and you're all bloody and broken and then you like stand up and the healing factor takes effect and I was just like, holy crap, that was amazing.
That was a pretty bloody game for a
Yeah.
superhero game too. I was really impressed with how
Wolverine.
much violence you could do in it, and it was good.
You
It
know,
was
and
M-rated.
Yeah.
he says at the beginning, he's like, I'm the best at what I do, and what I do isn't very nice. And then you just start like beheading people, and it was amazing.
That was
And
such a
then
great game.
a completely different type of game, but still superheroes, is the Lego ones. Lego Marvel, Lego Batman, specifically Lego Batman 2, or sorry, 1, not 2. Sorry. I love the Lego games. They are clones of each other, but they're fun. It's fun to be in, especially in the Lego Marvel, to just pick your favorite character and then go into the sandbox, whether it's a villain or a hero, and just kind of run around the city. And I haven't bought Infinity yet, but I'm very tempted to now that you actually get to be Marvel heroes or villains. I'm very excited about that.
We need to have a talk about that offline. I've got some sad news to drop to you about that.
Oh, no.
No, it's
I-
not. Anyways,
I've been looking for an answer to one question I have about the Disney Infinity 2.0 setup with the Marvel characters. Because they're calling it 2.0, it makes it sound like a patch.
oh, you pissed Randy off. He left.
If I have the first one, which I do have the first one with most of the characters, can I just buy the Marvel characters and play it in that game? Is it a downloadable piece, or do I have to buy a whole new game?
I don't know, but I heard, because you have the first one, and you know that certain characters can only live in those worlds. They can't cross worlds or anything like that. That's not changing with the Marvel characters.
That doesn't surprise me at all. That doesn't surprise me at all.
It's like the whole purpose of that game is, to cross all these Disney worlds, and that's how they market it, but you can't actually do that. Iron Man cannot go into, Snow White's world or whatever. It's just not going to happen.
If you do certain things in the sandbox mode, you can do that in the original one. The characters that can't cross, you can still use in multiple places, but in the actual levels, no. You've got to have the characters that they're designed for. So it just depends. Depends on what you're trying to do.
To add on to what Randy was saying about Lego Marvel, I think the part on that, I haven't played any of the Marvel games, the Lego games for a while. I think I watched my my ex's daughter play through Lego Star Wars, and I think we played a lot of Indiana Jones, but we tried Batman. I was just annoyed with it at that point. But when I got Lego Marvel, I felt like they built on it enough to make it a substantial difference, and it was really fucking fun. I mean, to be able to when you get to jump off that the helicarrier, and you can just like skydive down and open up if you're Mr. Fantastic, you become a parachute and stuff. And I love like morphing into Venom. I loved all the little different things with that. So that game made me love the X-Men again. It made me. There's been a long time where ever since X-Men 3 came out, that the one that we'll never talk about again, but that and Star Wars 1, 2, and 3. So yeah, that made me really like the X-Men again.
Best thing about it was couch co-op too. You don't see that very often anymore in console games. Good couch co-op.
Amazingly enough, we were actually able to do the co-op on the PC version. I got the PC version on Steam one weekend for like $20. It was on sale.
Yeah.
And my son and I hooked 2 Xbox controllers to my PC and sat under my projector and played it on like a 75. It was like 7 feet across. It was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean that's what's great about those Lego games is they really focus on playing with your kid, playing with someone next to you.
I got really tired of it really fast. He beat it, but I got tired of it. So I don't know. It was good. It was good for the first little while. I enjoyed it, but
again, it's a Lego game. Who do you think it was marketed for?
Yeah, him, not me. Him.
Yeah. The Sentinel was my favorite part. If you just like walk around and let the Sentinel talk for a while, it was fucking hilarious.
Lance is like, it was marketed for me, guys.
Yes, I am a 7-year-old. I am a 7-year-old trapped in a 31-year-old's body.
My son is 10 now, so you can take solace in the fact that you're not comparing yourself to a 7-year-old anymore.
If there's one thing that you need to do in that game, though, Rich, you need to go back, and I won't spoil it, but there's this part that's a Pulp Fiction reference at the end of the game. There's like a party at Tony Stark's house, and I don't think they got Samuel L. Jackson to do it, but holy shit. You do a bunch of stuff in Tony's house, and then he says this thing that just made me fucking laugh. Anyways, I love that game so much.
I will get to it eventually because I'm doing my Steam Play project. So
or just go YouTube it. Anyways, so hey Randy, what else did you want to add to superhero games? Do you have any other ones?
No. I mean that was pretty much my list. If I had another one, I forgot it. So.
Okay. Sorry to make you rage quit. I didn't mean to do that.
That's okay.
Oh man, he can't handle the knowledge.
It's true.
So I go over these ones a few times, but specifically in my mind, I remember going to the 49th Street Galleria, which I am going to do a 49th Street Galleria tattoo at some point or another. Don't really know where I'm going to put it, but yeah, I remember the arcade in that building specifically. How you like walk down those couple of stairs, and they had that full-on X-Men arcade in there. I fucking love that thing. I know there's a couple versions of that game. There was like a Japanese version. I don't know which one that was. Rich, you might be able to
Again, with the knowledge, there were 2 original versions of the cabinet. One of them had 1 monitor in it, then it had a 4-player setup in front of it, like a converted Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle arcade machine. They were all distributed by Konami. The other version of the cabinet had 2 monitors sitting next to each other and had 6-player pile-up in front of it that you could play with up to 6 people and choose your characters.
That was the one that they ended up putting in there, and I want to say, did they actually change the gameplay too, or the music or something?
No, it's the same game.
Okay.
You just spread across 2 screens. It's pretty epic.
Fucking loved playing Colossus in that game. In fact, I'm gonna.
If you want to get on your Xbox 360 right now, you can download it.
I played it. I got it. I went through the whole game on Xbox Arcade again.
It's very good.
Yep, it was a great game. My love for Colossus started there, and yes, it was great. So, anyways. So that was one of them. I played X-Men on the Game Boy. I fucking hated it on the original Game Boy. It pissed me off. It was a pile of shit. What else did I play? I can't really think. I mean, everybody else kind of hit on all the other ones that I was going to talk about. Oh, Gotham City Imposters, still the same universe. I'm looking off my list over here. That's what I'm squinting. That, to me, is still one of my favorite games. One of the best shooters out there. If you have a 360 or you have a good PC, download that. It's worth the fun. I really like the humor in it. I love humor shooters. That's probably my favorite kind of shooter. That and third-person shooter ones.
You should pick. It didn't get great reviews, and it's just an okay game. But if you like humor, the Deadpool game is hilarious.
I've been meaning to pick that up.
It tries to be funny, and it succeeds. It's really, really entertaining to play.
I was waiting for it to go on sale on Steam, but whatever licensing problem they're having with that game, they pulled it from Steam, and from my understanding, they pulled it off shelves too. You might be able to find it used, but from my understanding, they're not distributing it that anymore.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Who owns Deadpool?
Activision's not allowed to make those games anymore. Since Disney now owns Marvel, Disney bought or has their publishing deal with EA that got with the Star Wars and everything else that's been going on. apparently that's part of the deal somewhere along the line, is that Activision can't do Marvel games anymore. So
They should seriously let him have his own fucking movie that is just the most ridiculous shit on the planet,
So,
and not have Ryan Reynolds be Deadpool at all.
quick question. With I know with movie rights, with Fox owning Mutants and the XMen, does that carry over to games? Any of those rights sold off, or are those all owned by Marvel?
I don't know.
those are all done by Marvel, from my understanding. So,
yeah, kind of a comment you made earlier about video games being the main source of entertainment. I wonder if there was any sort of...
I'm sure that as soon as that deal expires, that they'll move back to the original holders, because ultimately Marvel still owns the content. The movies will go back, the games will go back to Disney. Like, it'll all end up in that one house. Those deals aren't going to last that much longer either.
Hopefully.
My understanding, the Spider-Man deal only goes through, what, 2015, 2016?
Yeah.
And then
as for the X-Men thing, they own the rights to the mutants, but they don't the term mutants. They don't own the rights to the characters.
Yeah,
Right.
That's why we're getting two Quicksilvers.
Yeah, they just won't be. They're not mutants. They won't use that word. They're created. Nothing to do with Magneto.
Which, however, though, in the Ultimate Universe, mutants are a creation of the government. So there you go.
That's true. Yeah. I love the Ultimates.
No, they'll find some clever legalese version of getting around it at some point, but for right now, eventually all of that stuff will go back to the Marvel wheelhouse. And with the Disney EA publishing deal, them closing down LucasArts and all the things that happened with the Star Wars franchise being bought by Disney, all of that stuff's going to work itself out in their favor over the next 5 years. So
Disney's going to make so much money.
To Lance's point, they do need to make a Deadpool movie that is just over the top ridiculous, because that's exactly what his source content is. Like, one of my favorite moments that made me fall in love with Deadpool is him and Bullseye are fighting. He's driving a Hummer down the freeway or whatever. Bullseye shoots a bazooka at him. He pulls the e-brake and makes the Humvee go sideways, and the windows are down, so the rocket goes through the open windows. And Bullseye goes, "Well, shit, that was cool."
Now, here's the problem.
I just had a
problem is it's all owned and operated by Disney now. You think Disney's going to make a Deadpool game?
I know. No, they won't.
Yeah.
They need to have Robert Rodriguez direct it and make it just like Machete. So,
oh, man. I say in the meantime, keep watching Machete, wishing that was a Deadpool movie.
It has to end with Deadpool's head being cut off, and then his body holding it, talking to himself, because that happens so much.
So here in Salt Lake, we have Disney Interactive has a studio here. Anyone know what kind of games they make here?
Yes. It's not the division of Disney Interactive that's here was originally Avalanche Studios, the guys who made Tak and the Power of Juju. They made a couple other games, and they worked with Disney on Infinity specifically. That's their wheelhouse. They only work on Infinity.
They're doing Infinity, and they're doing all the Marvel stuff, because I believe Tom said he has an interview lined up with them.
Yeah, we met them last year at Comic-Con, and they're awesome guys. They're way cool.
We met them this year again, too. If you actually go to the Entertainment is Dead site, they're in the photo gallery. They're the ones dressed as Jay and Silent Bob.
Oh, and nice. They have a little Instagram video of them singing the song "My Jungle Love."
But yeah, from the original setup when they originally bought them and did some stuff with them, they were working on Infinity for the most part. So that makes sense if they're doing the Marvel Infinity, because that's their thing.
Lance, you mentioned X-Men Arcade. I'd have to add one of the Ninja Turtles arcade, the Turtles in Time. I loved that game.
The first one's better.
What? How dare you?
The first arcade game is better than Turtles in Time.
Oh, yeah. The arcade, yeah. I know. Yeah.
There's nothing scarier than seeing Rocksteady and Bebop walking on the screen.
So there's another great tragedy that the modern children will never know. You get your Sega Genesis, and there's a game on the Sega Genesis called X-Men, and you want nothing more than that game. You gotta have it, because it's just like the arcade game that you go and play at wherever Lance played, at the 49th Street Gallery. I used to play at 7-Elevens across Las Vegas. You go, you get that game, and it's not the arcade game. It's some platformer bullshit, and you're 12 years old going, what the fuck is this shit, man? Ninja Turtles was the same way. You go out, Mom, get me the Ninja Turtles game. You get that first NES Ninja Turtles game that was not the arcade game.
Yeah.
And you're sitting at home crying to yourself, going, "This isn't the game I
Well,
want."
I guess I'll just play through it. It's terrible.
Yeah, and then there's Turtles 2, the arcade game. You're like, "Oh, cool! Now they finally got around to it after crushing my hopes." That was my childhood. They used to put something down like Lucy from Peanuts in the football, and Charlie Brown, would run to that game, and they would pull it away.
First world
That
problem.
shit was unbelievable as a child.
Right, first world problems.
Oh man,
We didn't get the video game we wanted, and some other countries like, we didn't get food for a week.
Whatever, man. It was the '90s. It was a different time. Man, no, so you run to the store and you're like, The Simpsons, they got a game, just like the arcade game that I play. And you end up with like Bart versus the World. And you're like, what the fuck is this bullshit, dude?
Those were terrible games on the fucking the Game Boy. Oh fuck, the Treehouse of Horror.
But they weren't the worst games I ever played, but they were bad. And they were not the arcade games, so fuck them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some childhood angst, and oh man, that was bad. I hated that.
What is the most recent arcade game you played that was, like a newer release? Like, I can't think of the last arcade game I played that came out recently. Every arcade game came out years ago.
I think the last one I played was... I played a lot of Soul Calibur 2 on arcade.
I was playing Street Fighter 4 at the Valley Fair arcade when they had a machine there. And there are a couple others. There's a newer House of the Dead game that they had. There is like a Blazing Angels game. There's a couple other games that have console tie-ins back and forth. But yeah, arcade's dead. Like they don't bring that shit anymore.
Are you talking like actual at the arcade or just the arcade style? Because I have plenty of games on my iPad that are the arcade style, like Tapper and the Wreck-It Ralph game they made with the movie. Those are arcade style, but not the actual arcade.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. Like a new arcade game, right? What's the market for that?
Hey, Steve, have you seen a Dave & Buster's anywhere in Utah?
Nope.
Okay, then I'm not fucking going to an arcade.
Yeah, well, from my understanding, I have a friend who lives near a Dave & Buster's, and at that Dave & Buster's, they've just got things like the basketball power shot and skee ball, and they have more of that than they have video games. So
that's fucked up.
Have any of you guys been to Atomic Arcade?
Oh yeah, I need to go there. Can you drink?
You can bring in your own drink. I don't think you can bring alcohol, but there are no barcades in Utah.
No, not interested.
His grandma's at home shaking her head right now.
I desperately want a barcade. A beer.
I know my grandma's gonna watch us tomorrow, and I'm gonna get a phone call.
I'm going to build myself a MAME cabinet, put it in my garage, and then never worry about it again.
One thing I'd recommend you guys doing if you're ever in California, go to Disneyland, go to Flynn's Arcade.
No. Oh God, you can't. No, it's not there anymore.
What?
They turned it into a gift shop.
God damn it.
Yep, it's gone.
Okay, well, I went and it was magical. Fuck
yes, as a child it was. You're 100% right. It was straight out of Tron. It was amazing.
So, did you put the quarter in and the fucking wall opened up and then there was some badass shit in the bottom?
There was a Tron movie before Tron Legacy where things like that didn't happen that the arcade was modeled on.
There was a movie before Tron Legacy?
Yeah, but there was a Tron movie before Tron Legacy. It was just called...
Oh, mind blown. Oh, we have to add. You know,
Flynn. He was young once too in the movie.
He was. He was the user.
He carried a fucking frisbee.
Yeah,
what?
Dude.
No
I own it
way.
on Blu-ray. They restored it. I'll let you watch it one day.
You've seen that Family Guy episode, right?
Is it in color?
It is in color. It's psychedelic color, but it's color.
You've seen the Family Guy episode where it's like, oh, you're the blue guy? I'm the red guy. Oh, that's cool.
Hey, guys, fuck you. I did watch Tron when I was a kid.
And it's really sad. The Starcade that they had there that was modeled on Flynn's Arcade is gone.
Well, I don't remember how he gets into how he got into it in the original because it's been that long. I haven't gone back and watched it.
That's okay. Disney has a lot of things they don't do anymore. Like you used to be able to pull the sword out of the stone, and like if you did, you were like the king of the parade, and you got to skip all the lines. They don't do that anymore.
No, they never did that.
Yes, they did. My sister won. I have pictures to prove it.
Because I have a picture of me pulling the sword as a small child. and I have a picture of my son trying to pull the sword as a small child, and they both haven't moved in 60 years. So
Go ask the lady who's right there at the Peter Pan ride if they do that anymore. She'll say no, but they used to. I promise. They used to pick one kid a day who won. I will send you the pictures.
nope, I'm Googling it right now.
And then, Richard, I'm letting you know, I went to Flynn's Arcade 2.5 years ago. In California Adventure, though, not in Disneyland.
Oh, well, see, maybe it's over there because the
We'll
Starcade that they modeled it off of next to Space Mountain, that one's gone.
Yeah,
And with that note, we are going to end this podcast because we are no longer talking about superheroes or anything to fucking do with them.
Tron's a superhero.
Yeah, Tron is a
All right.
superhero.
Good night,
Fights for
Internet.
the user, man.
Good night, Internet.
Good night, Internet.
Love you.